Hey guys, welcome back to another Q&A. It is May 11th, 2019, and it was an open Q&A this week. Wanted to get one more in before showtime next week. I know next week I won't be able to do one, so we'll get this one knocked out ahead of time. All right. Regarding intra workouts that are packed with supplements, do you find if it wasn't diluted much, they can cause bloating, nauseous feeling? Basically, what's the optimal amount of liquid to mix your drink in? I don't know what's optimal, to be honest. You see different directions on the backs of the packages. Now, what I will say is just duration, which you sip on it, and how it's diluted definitely does matter. I would just lean towards more water. Personally, like I would rather sip it slower with more water. I will have upset that way. Um, yeah, I mean, you could have bloating from too little water if like the viscosity of the drink, I guess, is too thick. But also just drinking it too quickly is part of the problem with people. So I would just err towards the side of more water, drink slower. All right, next one. How would you go about changing a person's PED protocol post show? And if they do back to back shows, what would you do between? Well, this is going to depend on a couple things, really, what you change post show. I mean, ideally, you recover. They should be very insulin sensitive. There'd be probably strength's probably not that good, So I mean, really, realistically, you should be able to progressively overload and recover and bring supplementation down to minimal, TRT level or whatever it might be, and possibly utilize, other routes like GH and insulin, and let other health markers recover in the meantime. Now, I mean, there are people that will push past the end of the show, but I would actually suggest listening to the most recent OPD podcast coming out. And we talk about this because it seems, you on paper that might seem like there's benefit in that, but there's some systemically stressful issues there that like how much are you really going to get from an extra 4 to 6 weeks post show doing that versus just cutting into your recovery, and you're creating more systemic stress and inflammation. So are you actually helping anything, or are you hurting it? So that's kind of my take on it. Now, we talk about it more in depth on that show. Now with back-to-back shows, well, it depends on how far apart they are. Normally, if somebody's doing like a quote unquote warm up show, or they're doing a national level show and they're doing like a qualifier beforehand, most cases it would be you have things set up to the end date, everything's set up towards that last show, assuming the second show in the order, or whatever, however many shows it is in the order, is probably going to be the biggest one. You probably wouldn't end with the least important one, in most cases. So you would set everything up. Normally, you would just set everything up for the ending show, and then whatever's before it, go in on what's going on. You maybe manipulate doses up slightly before the first show, but I mean, not much. So that way you're not throwing hormones off everywhere. And also, if you have a show that's like 6 weeks out, and then another show at, another 6 weeks later, that you're not adding like oral methylated compounds 12 weeks out or 14 weeks out and running them into the first show and then in the second show. So normally set up gearing everything towards the last and final most important event, and then go through the first one with whatever's there already. What are your thoughts on astragalus for kidney health? Effective? If so, how do you usually dose it? Yeah, so there's definitely literature on it. Now, some of the literature shows some pretty crazy high doses compared to what you see in the supplements. I've seen, like, if you go to I believe it was on examine.com. I'm sure it's probably on examine.com. I'm not sure if that's where I saw it, but something like 15 to 30 grams of root extract. So, I mean, that's a lot. You might see a supplement with 8 or 10 grams if you're lucky. Though I have seen that 8 to 10 gram range have positive effects on lab work. So the thing about any herb though is we're looking at an extract and we're looking at which bioavailable compounds are we getting from the herb, because there are different there's different components to an herb. If you just have the whole herb, you don't really know what you're getting, how much of what component. So I mean, you want a high yield extract, and I believe that you're looking for probably not going to say this right, astragaloside. That's what you want. It's astragaloside 4, I think, is the actual the actual component that you're looking for. So I mean, a lot of the better companies will probably have that listed on there. I think you want somewhere between like 5 to 20 milligrams ish from what I've seen of that. Now, how much of the actual root extract are you going to need to get that in just a general sense? It's hard to say. So finding a product that actually has that listed on there would probably be beneficial. And I would go back to Examine and check that out, because I'm almost positive that they had the exact amount listed for that extract, but I'm pretty sure that was the range. So again, look for something that actually has the bioavailable or that bioactive, I guess, component that you want for the benefit, and not just a whole root powder. It's not just astragalus ground up and thrown into a capsule, because you're probably not going to get what you need. All right, so let's move over to Facebook. Thoughts on HIIT, cardio, and high cortisol. So if I remember correctly, the person's asking me this said they had some high cortisol issues or adrenal imbalances throughout the day, and they'd actually had some testing done, like a 4-point test, and looked at the patterns throughout the day. So HIIT cardio is going to raise cortisol, at least temporarily, just like training. I mean, it's not like steady state cardio. It's not anaerobic, it's not glucose intensive. It's not really going to raise cortisol. I mean, it might in chronic use, but probably not a lot acutely. Now, if somebody's trying to recover from some kind of adrenal dysfunction like this, I probably wouldn't suggest HIIT cardio. If you need to do cardio, I'd probably keep it pretty low intensity. And same with training, not necessarily low intensity, but just nothing, like mostly sub-maximal. You're going to recover a lot better. Now, like I said, it will raise cortisol temporarily, of course, but just in a general sense of recovering from some kind of adrenal issue like that, I would probably steer away from HIIT cardio if possible. You're just contributing to that overall stress load then in that case. All right, so details on how you approach the last week of training going into a show. Honestly, there's not a lot of detail to it. It's very simple. I've not found the need to do any kind of voodoo magic with most people. No crazy depletion workouts or anything like that. If you're ready, I mean, you really shouldn't need to do that. You're going to be depleted anyhow. You don't need to deplete to reload. I mean, you're going to be depleted. Just maybe skip the last refeed or something, or even just run some extra low days, depending on your macro rotation or something like that if you need to. But training wise, really similar to what you're doing. Obviously, safety is a big thing at that point. Possibly lower volume just slightly, and then nothing to failure. Maybe a 5 to 7 out of 10 intensity wise on everything. Partition those nutrients, get blood to the muscle, make sure you're still burning the calories and stuff. You're not going to stop training. Now, I normally like to go big to small on muscle groups. So train legs, for example, like a week out, and then rotate to back and chest and shoulders and arms. And then depending on, where we're at, maybe like an upper body, just pump workout like Thursday. If you have a Saturday show, pose on Friday. So something like that is going to be pretty easy to control. You're still going to clear inflammation. You're still going to partition nutrients. And it will allow to kind of, lower that stress load. So I really don't do anything crazy with anyone when it comes to training like that. It's very, very simple. Okay, so do you think MK677 insulin are synergistic in the way that insulin and GH known to be? Well, not really. I mean, MK is pretty notorious for raising blood glucose pretty rapidly in most people. So obviously you could use exogenous insulin to combat that. And MK does raise IGF, but the problem is that it's just mostly systemic, hepatic IGF production. It's not, and the pulses are very random. It's very hard to control. It's not going to give you the advantage like growth hormone, where you can control it. You can control dosing. You can possibly get more autocrine and paracrine IGF production, and then complement that with the insulin. Whereas if you're just getting a bunch of systemic IGF at just random times, the synergy is not the same, not at all. Yeah, because people they take MK and then they see that they like the fact that it makes them gain weight because it just puts a bunch of water on you, and then they see that maybe on lab work that it actually does raise IGF levels, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's translating into muscle, just because of the nature of how it does it. Like I said, mostly just hepatic. So no, I would not say it's nearly in the same ballpark, I guess. Okay, guys, that's it for today. Thanks for the questions, and talk to you guys again soon.